Bond. James Bond.
In case I don't see ya. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Did we just become best friends?
Yup! Sublime!
You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Tear me apart, Lisa!
But mostly I hate the way I don't hate you. Not even close. Not even a little bit. Not even at all.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Hi, friends, and welcome to another episode of You Haven't Seen That, a movie discussion podcast where we introduce our friend Ben to movies he should have seen a long time ago. I'm your host, Amanda.
I'm Geoff.
And I'm Ben.
And today, we're continuing our Best Picture series, and we're discussing No Country for Old Men. And stick around until the end because, not surprisingly, we will be discussing our top
four
four
old men. Just kidding.
Guys, we should have done that. Where was this idea, Ben? Not old men. We will be doing our top 4 movie or TV villains from live action movies, not animated.
No Country for Old Men. Llewellyn Moss stumbles upon dead bodies, $2 million, and a horde of heroin in a Texas desert. But methodical killer Anton Chigurh comes looking for it, with local sheriff Ed Tom Bell hot on his trail. The roles of prey and predator blur as the violent pursuit of money and justice collide. Released in November 2007, the number one song in the country, Crank That Soldier Boy by the titular Soldier Boy.
Is on the credits for this movie, right?
Incredible.
They were way ahead of their time filming this. Snuck it right in there.
A classic.
It was a big hit in West Texas for sure. In world news, there wasn't a ton to go off of here, but the Boston Red Sox win their second World Series in 4 years after going for decades and decades and decades without any. And Keeping Up with the Kardashians premieres on the E! Network right around this time.
Wow.
I know. It's been that long. Directed by the Coen brothers, Joel and Ethan Coen, is our second Coen brothers movie in 3 weeks, which is crazy. Based on the 2005 novel by Cormac McCarthy, this movie stars Tommy Lee Jones, Josh Brolin, Javier Bardem, and Woody Harrelson. With a $25 million budget, this movie ended up grossing $171 million at the global box office. This movie had a slow rollout, so it didn't really place high in a weekend box office, so hard to kind of grade it there. But this is the second highest grossing Coen brothers movie of all time, behind 2010's True Grit. This movie was very well received by critics, 93% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 92 on Metacritic. And why it's being discussed today, this movie was nominated for 8 Academy Awards and won 4. Best Picture, Best Director, Best Supporting Actor for Javier Bardem, and Best Adapted Screenplay. It lost cinematography to There Will Be Blood, and it also lost film editing, sound editing, and sound mixing to The Bourne Ultimatum. In a very strong Oscars year this year, this movie beat Atonement, Juno, Michael Clayton, and There Will Be Blood for Best Picture.
All right. Thank you.
I have not seen a lot of those, but I feel like, yeah, that's a good year.
It's a good year. It's one of those where I'm like, oh, that's a banger. Oh, that one's pretty notable too. Nice. Yeah. That's awesome. And big reason why I know for me, I wanted to focus on this movie was because of the crossover between this and There Will Be Blood. Paul Thomas Anderson is back in the awards. Yeah, Paul Thomas Anderson back in the awards conversation again this year. And There Will Be Blood was the closest he ever got to notable Oscars recognition. So felt appropriate to talk about this movie
until this year, hopefully.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. All right. Well, Ben, why don't you give us your history with No Country for Old Men?
I don't really have much of a history with this movie. I mean, came out when I was in college. I was definitely not really. I watched I kind of followed the Oscars race when I was a kid, and then again like as an adult. But I did not really follow it when I was in the midst of college. So I don't really remember much about this movie, or I'm sure I recognize the title and stuff, but yeah, I don't really have much to say as far as a history with it. It's been on my list of ones I wanted to see though for a while.
All right. And what about you, Geoff?
I've seen this movie multiple times. The first time I did was actually in high school, my senior year. My high school, the way they did English classes was they focused it on literature. Freshman year was intro to lit, sophomore year was world literature, junior year was British literature, and my senior year was American literature, where we did this book and watched the movie alongside it. So we had the chance to read the book and then we watched the movie, read the book, watch the movie. We also actually watched There Will Be Blood in that class as well and did discussions about that. So very nice that these movies were.
Like your teacher was a cinephile.
I know, big fan. Shout out Mr. Spillman. So yeah, that was my first exposure to this movie. I've been meaning to reread the book for a while, so maybe this might be the motivation to do so. But I've revisited it multiple times over the years since it has come out, more frequently than There Will Be Blood and other movies from this year.
Cool. And I knew that this movie existed, but that was about it. After Geoff and I watched the movie, he threw on the trailer because it was also on because we watched it on DVD or Blu-ray, whichever one we watched.
Shout out physical media.
Be very specific there, babe. There is a difference.
Okay, sorry. We watched the Criterion Collection Blu-ray disc with, I don't know, special features and such. And the trailer was one of them. And as we were watching the trailer, I was like, yeah, this is not something I would have at all been interested in 2007. So not surprised that I either just never saw it or it completely was off my radar. I will say, though, once we started watching the movie, I recognized Javier Bardem. Like, I was like, I've seen pictures of this man before as Anton Chigurh. So I don't know where or how or when, but I have.
Probably the posters at Geoff's apartment when you started dating.
Man, you weren't supposed to tell anybody about those. Jeez. It's next to my maniacal Dark Knight Joker poster and the Boondock Saints. Perfect combination.
I also think that I thought this movie was a different movie. Like, Geoff was like, it's a thriller. And I was like, what? I was very confused by that. I think I either thought it was Grumpy Old Men, which is a very different movie, or I think I confused it with There Will Be Blood too, which I also haven't seen, but
that one's at least so. I mean, yeah,
that one's understandable.
I feel like I've conflated the two. Like, actually, like I was like, which one was Paul Thomas Anderson and which one was the winner? Because I knew like one was Paul Thomas Anderson, the other was the winner, but I couldn't remember which one was which at one point.
All you know is Paul Thomas Anderson was not the winner.
Right.
All right. Well, let's see. Geoff, why don't you give us your score?
No Country for Old Men is a movie that I truly forget how much I love this movie and adore this movie until I see it. Every time I see it, I'm like, oh yeah, this movie is basically perfect. This is an incredible thriller and one that grips me to my seat every single time and is so well made and so well executed and so well performed. And then for some reason, I like blank on it. I'm just like, oh, No Country for Old Men. Oh, that movie's okay. And then I'll load it up again. And I'm like, this movie is a masterpiece. I don't know what I'm even missing or whatever. So I'm going to give this movie a 5 out of 5. I love this movie so much. I cannot wait to watch it again. And I will not be forgetting it. Unlike every other time where I'm like, oh, I just forget. This movie is like one of the greatest neo-Westerns ever made. So 5 out of 5 for me for No Country for Old Men. It's amazing and deserved to win Best Picture this year.
All right. And what about you, Ben?
So I think this is like one of those situations where I think it felt very kind of unique at the time. And I feel like there's been a lot of copies of it since in TV and movies. Not copies, but like inspired by this type of filming, including like the Coen brothers or their, subordinates have done. So I think this is one of those things where like I've seen some of the things that maybe got inspired by this movie before I saw this movie, which always is like a weird order to see them in.
Yep.
I did like it and I thought it was well done. I wasn't totally engaged with it all. I'm talking to like think longer about my score.
Keep stalling.
Keep stalling.
I'm going to give it. I'm looking at my other scores here. I think I liked it more than that. I'm going to give it a 4.
Okay. Feels fair.
Does feel fair.
Which I've given 4s to a lot of movies this year.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. It means we're
Yeah.
narrowing down on your tastes.
That's true. We've done better than last year on that, I think.
And for me, this is a movie. So before we started watching, I asked Geoff, "Do you think I'm going to like this?" And he said, "I think you're going to respect it." And he wasn't wrong. I do respect this as a movie. I also enjoyed it. I did not enjoy it to the extent that Geoff enjoyed it. And I can kind of get into that later, but I'm going to give it a 3.75 because I respect the hell out of it.
Those are the two I was going between, was 4 and 3.75.
Well, this is our second week in a row. We've averaged out to a 4.25 rating. Shout out to the Sting.
Hey, I mean, Best Picture should be
doing well.
in theory.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Averaging out pretty high, so that tracks. So I think for me, one of the reasons why I didn't enjoy this is that it just didn't capture me the entire movie. There were absolutely parts where felt like I was watching a thriller and I was very tense and I was like, what's happening? And I will say that was mostly when Anton Chigurh was doing things in scenes with people talking. You know, he's very menacing and, you know, very much it was like you just didn't know what he was going to do. Some of the other parts lost me a bit. I would say I love Tommy Lee Jones, but I think some of the parts with him fell a little bit more flat for me. And that's why I had to bring down my rating for the enjoyment, because it's like I was in certain places and then other places it lost me a bit.
I think that's fair. The tricky part with the Tommy Lee Jones part, the Ed Tom Bell character, is like that's the reason the movie is titled the way that it is strictly for his character, and that how time is passing you by and everything like that, and the way that this universe and world of crime has evolved, it has left him in the dust. It is no longer a country for an old man, and so he has to accept that. So, but I totally get what you're saying. His journey line resonated more with me this time around. I found myself, especially in his scenes, paying attention to who he's talking to, how he's acting, what he's thinking about, and everything. And so for some reason, it really connected with me this time around, unlike maybe previous viewings of this movie.
You old man.
I know.
I do feel like I probably won't watch it again, but it does feel like one that maybe I'd appreciate more on a second watch. I agree with you, Amanda. For me, the Javier Bardem scenes were definitely the most interesting to me. I didn't mind like the slowness of it and like kind of the stillness and the sparseness of it, because I liked that with the setting. I just felt like there were parts that just felt like we weren't going anywhere. And I don't need like a thrill a minute kind of thing. I'm not that type of person, but I do feel like for me, the parts without Javier Bardem were a little sluggish in places.
Yeah. I agree with you. Obviously. Because you agreed with me.
I definitely get the Javier Bardem thing now, though. Like I feel like, because I think I've only seen him in 2 things before this, and one of them I'm going to talk about when we get to recommendations. But the other one I'm not going to talk about was Being the Ricardos, which is one of my least favorite movies of all time. As a I Love Lucy fan, I was so angry at that movie. And so that was my introduction to him. And then I feel like whenever people talk about Javier Bardem, they talk about him being terrifying. And I think like it mostly goes back to this movie for people. And I felt like watching him like, okay, yeah, like I get it. Like he's a scary dude. Like he is like, you know, I feel like often in movies like this, the villain, you know, maybe has some element of like smarminess, or, you know, like kind of they're a little bit, you know, not I don't want to say comedic, but they're like they've got some quirky aspect to them that makes them maybe a little less terrifying. And this, I feel like he is just straight up evil and terrifying. Like there's not really any kind of redeeming side of him. There's no kind of quirky, funny, amusing side of him. He's just a real bad guy.
He's just straight up evil who believes in fate. literally is like, I'm going to gun you down if this coin flip doesn't go if the coin flip doesn't go the right way. Like that's his code, which is the craziest thing. And to watch it play out on screen, it is really terrifying.
But you know what the most terrifying thing about him is?
Is it the haircut?
Yeah.
I know. It's like, it was so perfectly surmised when he gets to Llewellyn Moss's trailer and he breaks into it and he's looking for him or whatever. And he goes into the fridge and he grabs the thing of milk and just sits there in his little like mushroom cut haircut, just staring menacingly into a turned off TV. I'm like, yeah, this is just evil personified right here.
Yeah. I liked when he was like the little details of like when going through the motel and like opening the door and then closing it and then opening it real fast again. Like, I'm like, taking the time to do that is good. You know, that's
so good.
That's important for character building and plot development.
He's clearly done this before for sure. Also, this movie and his character specifically introduced me to two very cool movie weapons, and ones that I'm like, I've never seen this executed this way before. One being the silenced shotgun and the humming that it makes whenever he uses it. I'm like, this is horrifying. And then two being the air gun, the cattle gun, which I had heard of before and whatever, but seeing it executed like this in movie form, like, that is scary. And that whole plot point, just menacingly being like, you need to step out of your car. Just stay right there. Boop. And it's like, oh my gosh, that's horrifying. So it's very inventive weapon use as well in this movie that I was like, this is cool. I've never seen it done this way before. I don't know if that was specified in the book, but.
Now, Geoff, you feel like this deserved Best Picture over There Will Be Blood.
I do, yes.
And without spoiling There Will Be Blood, in case we ever do that for this podcast, why?
I found myself more connected with the story with this one than There Will Be Blood. Now, I am probably the wrong person to ask this because I feel like the majority of the film watching community, if you will, or movie going community believes that There Will Be Blood should have been the Best Picture winner from this year. I'm not one of those people. I found myself to find the story more compelling. There Will Be Blood is more of a like singular character study about the problems of greed and the sort of negative down spiral of greed and what you're able to, or what you have to kind of cut out of your life and move away from in order to pursue that greed at whatever cost is necessary. I found the layered story to this of the Llewellyn Moss character being just simply wrong place, wrong time, but then being like, hey, I've got some money now. I'm going to do everything I can to protect it. And then the Anton Chigurh character being initially an assassin for hire, then LOL, I'm just going to go out of my way to kill this guy because fate's telling me to do so. And then the third layer being, man, maybe this just isn't the right world for me, or the titular focus of the story, this world is moving so fast. This job I'm in is moving so fast in so many scary ways. Am I really cut off for this anymore? I need to retire, whatever. I found all of those different layers to this movie so interesting and so compelling that I connected with it more than I did There Will Be Blood. So that's all. I think that though I will say the Daniel Plainview performance in There Will Be Blood is elite. You know, Daniel Day-Lewis absolutely deserved that Oscar. It's one of the best Oscar wins of the 21st century. Totally believe that for sure. Absolutely deserves to be in the conversation for Best Picture from that year. But for me, I've connected with this movie a lot more.
Sure. We'll have to chime in when we do There Will Be Blood.
Yeah, I'm curious. I think you guys would probably would like There Will Be Blood a little bit more than this one.
You think so?
I do. I think there aren't as many movies, because I heard the way you guys were describing what your thoughts were around the movie. Like, yes, you were super compelled during the like Anton Chigurh parts, maybe not as much during the Ed Tom Bell parts or parts where Llewellyn Moss isn't necessarily on the run. I don't think there are as many like waves like that with There Will Be Blood. And I feel like There Will Be Blood is more of like a spectacle per se. Not saying necessarily that you're both like, oh, it's just looks prettier on screen, whatever. But no, I think the subject matter on that movie and the drive to money and success around the oil world and the oil industry, I think will resonate with you two more.
We'll find out.
Crazy, these both came out the same year.
Right?
Was it an upset that this won, or was this expected to win?
I think this was expected to win. Both of them were nominated for 8 Academy Awards. I think There Will Be Blood won 2 that night. And I don't remember how the precursors rolled out, but I don't believe it was an upset.
Gotcha.
Ultimately.
Gotcha.
I found it crazy that The Bourne Ultimatum won 3 Academy Awards, beating this movie in all of the editing categories. I was like, wait, what? I love The Bourne Ultimatum, but it's crazy.
Well, that's also the kind of awards that those movies usually win.
The Bourne Ultimatum was F1 of that year.
Let's hope F1 doesn't win that many.
I think F1 has a good chance. It's starring Javier Bardem, mind you. So there you go. I think
is he playing Anton Chigurh again?
No, I think that movie's going to win. My guess would be sound and also be a contender for editing.
Yeah.
So wait, he's actually in F1.
He is.
Javier Bardem.
He plays the team president of the team that signs Brad Pitt.
Interesting.
Yeah, they both raced together in F1 back in the day, and yeah, Javier Bardem like leads a team now and is like, "Hey, come back to drive with us. We're bad, and we need a little bit of a spark. We've got a young hotshot driver, other guy who just quit. We want you to be our driver," kind of deal.
Oh. Getting back to the movie we're talking about, not There Will Be Blood or F1. I will say my ears or eyes perked up. I feel like we had been a decent way into the movie when all of a sudden Woody Harrelson pops up.
Right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh. And then also Stephen Root, who I love from News Radio. And I was like, hey, those guys.
Yeah, right.
I feel like more than any other actor in my life, the amount of times I've watched a movie and then been like, I didn't know Woody Harrelson was in this.
Yep, absolutely.
It just happened with Ellen McKay, which we were talking about right before we went on air here. But like, it's like, I feel like he is like the number one actor that I'm always like, oh, he's in this.
Yep.
Never like the top billed person to, make it on the poster or whatever.
Right. So he's just like always like the stealth player in the. But I actually felt like it was, a little bit of a restrained role for Woody Harrelson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's not asked to really do too much. It's just because he's got a history with Chigurh, and then it's like, hey, just find our money and find this guy, basically.
Yeah.
And get out of Dodge. Like, you've survived dealing with this guy.
And I'm curious because I feel like you usually bring Woody Harrelson in to do something kind of outrageous or, sarcastic or any. I mean, he's always going to be Woody Harrelson to some degree and something like. He's never going to be like total, but I felt like it was an interesting casting choice, and I'm curious how that came about because, like, I don't know, like I feel like usually he's brought in because he can do something that nobody else except Woody Harrelson can do in that role, and this part I felt like they kind of kept him under lock a little bit, and
yeah, that's fair. He was so baby face looking,
not as baby faced as on Cheers.
Yeah, it was certainly interesting seeing him come on screen because he has his little Southern charm, funny shtick a little bit in that room. But it is definitely scaled back.
I mean, it's not non-existent, but
right. Exactly. But no, it was fun to see him pop up here. And I think he did well in his part, which is kind of to be the semi-serious guy in the situation and kind of help us to understand the stakes of what is actually happening. So, and the gravity to how evil Anton Chigurh is. So I think he did a really good job in almost having him there as well. And being the first person to find Llewellyn Moss was also interesting because And I was like, actually, Luan, you're not really that good at this. Like, we're gonna find you. Just give up, basically, in a human way. So yeah, a very, very welcome introduction to this movie when he shows up.
I do always feel like when he shows up in a movie or a TV show, I'm always like, it's like one of those things like you can relax. You're like, you're in good hands.
Oh, absolutely. He's my favorite part of. He's my favorite part of Zombieland. He's my favorite part of. There's a couple of other movies that I can't think of off the top of my head, but Zombieland was the first thing that came to mind for sure. In terms of like, he's my favorite part of that movie by far, and I love that movie so much.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's just so interesting that you feel like he's been around for forever because he started so young. Like he's still only like in his 60s. Like he's,
which is crazy. Yeah.
Hopefully, many more Woody Harrelson movies.
Yes.
So, especially you, Ben, since you hadn't seen this before, like me, what was your reaction to Llewellyn getting killed? Like, I don't know. Did you think that was going to happen, or like?
I mean, I felt like this was the type of movie that wasn't necessarily going to end well for most characters. So,
anybody, yeah.
So I guess if you're asking, was I surprised? No. If you're asking, like, do I think it was a good choice for the movie? I think it was that type of movie. You know what I mean? Like, I think it was the intent of the movie. This wasn't going to be like a hero wins the day kind of, everybody's going to leave feeling happy about things at the end of the movie kind of thing. So I think the fact that, not that, I guess, I don't know. I guess you'd probably say Tommy Lee Jones is maybe I don't know. Would you say he's the protagonist?
I guess. In the technical terms, he is the protagonist of the movie.
Yeah, but it doesn't always.
But
you don't always feel like you're rooting for him as much as.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think that's what I was not confused, but like when Llewellyn died, and it felt very abrupt, and then the movie just totally like moved on from it, like so quickly, and I was like, wait, like wasn't the movie about him? And then it's like, okay, I guess not. I guess I've been looking at this the wrong way. And obviously, I don't know.
And I guess you're right. If your question is like, am I surprised it happened when it did?
Yeah.
Like in the movie, like I do like when movies make the choice to like, kill off somebody that you think is kind of going to be there right to the final credits.
Yeah.
So I respect that.
I know for me, the first time I saw this movie, I was caught off guard for sure. I was like, wait a second. It's just
it's like,
gonna happen. It wasn't even Anton either. It wasn't even Anton who killed him. It's like, oh, hey, look, it's the Mexican cartel that hunted down his wife and mother-in-law, found out where he was going, and it's like, all right, we're done here. But yeah, it was so fascinating. And definitely
it almost felt like he was just like a throwaway character. Like, okay, we spent so much of the movie focusing on him, but bye, he's dead.
But I do appreciate when movies do that, like when they
absolutely
shift your and you think movies are about one thing, and they're like, nope, it's actually about this.
Right, yeah, definitely, yeah. It just took me off guard,
and it's so much harder to do in today's day and age as well because of the power of celebrity. As feigning as it might be, but like when you cast somebody in something or a TV show or a movie or whatever, and then they're only in it for like, however long, they don't make it to the end or whatever, people are oftentimes left disappointed, and no studio wants to deal with that. So I thought it was just like you, Ben, it's a good choice, effective choice. I'm glad they made that choice. And I don't know, again, I forget how it plays out in the book, but yeah.
Well, from a review that I read on Letterboxd, someone said that the movie was almost like word for word from the book.
Yeah, I was about to say, the book did also come out in 2005. So very quick turnaround for this book to end up on the screen, which is nuts.
Very quick.
That's crazy. Like
Sometimes though, I think they option books even before they come out.
Right. I'm thinking of
Could have been the case here.
Yeah, we've got a new Hunger Games movie coming out at the end of this year, and the book just like came out a year or so ago. So again, very quick kind of turnaround deal. I'm sure it was worked hand in hand with the studio.
I thought the most impressive scene visually was that shootout when they were driving away in the downtown part. I thought like that was visually very interesting to watch.
So good. Incredibly effective. Everything from the hotel all the way through to how that played out there in the streets. So good, especially when you don't see Anton for so much of it. He's only really seen through dark windows. He's only seen through broken glass. You can only see him through the wake of his destruction. It's so effective and so good. And you feel just as scared, like, for Llewellyn Moss. Like, oh gosh, anything can happen at this point. So you're right there, Ben. It was so effective.
One of my favorite lines from this movie was Llewellyn's wife saying, "I work at Walmart."
And then Llewellyn going, "No, you're not. You're retired."
Well, no, because he was like something about having to deal with stuff. And she's like, "I know how to deal with stuff. I work at Walmart." And then also her mother screaming, "I have the cancer," multiple times was very funny.
The cancer. Oh my gosh. One of the last times I saw this movie was it the last time I saw this? I have to go back into my little logs here. Yeah, it was actually. It was just a week or so after the Bills lost to the Kansas City Chiefs, the 13 seconds game, when they lost the coin toss in overtime. And when Anton poses the question, "What's the most you ever lost in a coin toss?" I'm like, "Well, let me tell you, sir.
My Super Bowl hopes and dreams."
Oh, that was the best bet. That was the year it should have happened for the Bills.
That was the year it should have happened for sure. But
yeah,
I love that scene, by the way. The scene at the gas station is so good and so creepy, and even that's so early on and really reinforces how psychotic Anton Chigurh is.
Yes. It's interesting to watch this in 2026 for two reasons. One, I think the border stuff, takes on a different weight than it did back then. Not that it wasn't a hot topic even at that time, but then also like I feel like thematically, and you kind of talked about this a little bit at the beginning, Geoff. Like part of it is that like Tommy Lee Jones like feels like he's going to retire because like the game has kind of passed him by in a way, kind of thing, which used to be like a universal belief, and now I feel like people just go till they die.
For sure, even if it's not money motivated.
Yeah. Although usually it is money motivated,
right?
But I don't know. I felt like that philosophy that this film is projecting is like not one that we're living by in a lot of cases now.
Oh, for sure.
Maybe we should just come up with a new slogan: "No country for boomers." Maybe then they'll get the message.
Yeah.
Retire.
At least the millennials still have time. Poor Gen X, they're going to be like retirement age before they get the chance to take over.
Yeah, they're just going to get passed over, honestly.
It's going to skip right over them.
All right. Well, do either of you have any final thoughts?
I did not care for the dead dog.
No.
Yeah, they kept reinforcing the dead dog too at the beginning of the movie, which is hilarious.
And then I also am not convinced that Llewellyn could really have escaped that car at that first scene. Like that felt like a long way for him to run with a car coming after you.
Oh yes, absolutely. I literally I was like, how? Like
this is not.
How is he running that fast that the car can't catch up with him?
Yeah.
I know we haven't talked about this a lot, and I know the scenes without Anton Chigurh didn't really resonate with you guys, but the final scene of the movie where Ed is sitting there talking with his wife about his dreams and mentioning how he just had the dream about his dad leading the way in the middle of a storm with fire, being like, "I'll wait for you," or whatever at the end, and him kind of realizing those terms so shortly after having this insane journey of death and destruction and everything he's mapped out, and how close he was to death, really hit home for me this time around. I know I've talked a lot about how those scenes with Sheriff Ed really hit home for me this viewing, but especially at the end of the movie where he's sitting there, he's like, man, I was dreaming, and there's my dad, and he led the way. He said, I'll be waiting for you there. And then I woke up, and that's, yeah, I don't know. I love the way this movie ends too, and that there isn't really a hero's ending. There really isn't some grand conclusion. It's just, I started thinking about death a lot more.
I don't want to stomp on your philosophical thoughtfulness there, but I was like, are we talking about dreams, Tommy Lee Jones? 'Cause I don't care about hearing about people's dreams. I think we talked about that when we did Inception.
Yeah. So related. When he started talking, I like immediately zoned out. I was like, oh my God, what the heck is he even talking about? And then the movie ended and I was like, oh, I wasn't even paying attention.
Maybe I need to go back.
You better listen. Start listening to your parents, to your grandparents, to everybody.
That didn't happen with this particular movie, but that does happen to me sometimes where I'm like, and find myself that I've zoned out, and then it like goes to the next scene. I'm like, oh shoot, I feel like I need to know what just happened to that scene I missed. Like,
oh my gosh.
Yep.
I'm not talking about this particular movie, but that definitely happens to me in general when I watch things sometimes.
I also found it interesting that he, in these moments of when he really doesn't know what's going on, he finds himself talking to either similar older sheriffs or retired lawmen. And then the only time he's ever really talking with the younger sheriff, it's just like kind of reinforcing everything that he's been taught. Again, really driving home the fact that, hey, if you're not adapting, this place ain't for you. This job is not for you. So just such an effective story that I was so deeply moved by. So I'm sorry that the non-Anton Chigurh scenes didn't hit as home for you like they did for me. But
more villains. No, I understand what you're saying, Geoff, but I feel like there's another world where maybe I just wasn't in like the right mindset for this movie. I don't know, because I actually believe, like, you know, I've said this to people before, but like the mood you're in when you're watching a movie plays a bigger role, I think, than people give credit for. And I think maybe I just wasn't in the right headspace for this movie, or the type of movie it was, maybe. So maybe I will rewatch it at some point, because again, I did appreciate it. You know, I just didn't enjoy it as much as I wanted to.
That's fair.
And I think sometimes that does, like, are you in a mood to watch this kind of movie on the particular night that you're watching it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that factors in more than people give it credit, because I think people
absolutely
think they have like an unbiased opinion of movies, or they're trying to, not unbiased, but they're trying to approach it like from a very open mind. And I think I've tried that too, but I think you're still impacted by how your day went. How tired are you? What's going on around you? What kind of setting did you put in? You know, like,
yeah.
For sure. I can think of two of the Best Picture nominees from this year, both kind of like contradicting like that point, but one reinforcing and one like actually kind of ties to the greatness of that movie because of how it kind of played off it. But when I saw Hamnet, I was like running super late. I was getting caught in traffic. It was right around the holidays. I had to drive all the way out to like a mall 40 minutes away from our house. And I got there just in the nick of time to watch this movie, and just nothing hit with me. I was just like, oh, they're just trying to manipulate me. They're just trying to get me to cry. They're just trying to whatever. Like, nothing connected with me for it. And then, so I completely agree with you there. The second one, though, was Train Dreams. I watched Train Dreams late at night and was like, okay, you know, Train Dreams was, Ben said amazing things about this movie, but it's not going to win Best Picture. I'll just watch it, you know, just for the sake of it or whatever. And I started at like 10:30 at night, and it completely threw me off. Like, I was so like threw off the whole notion. Like, okay, I'll just fall asleep to it. Like, no, I was wide awake the entire time. It got me so bought in the entire time watching this movie that I was like, oh, wow. I didn't even matter the headspace I was in. I didn't even care that I was wanting to fall asleep. Like, no, I was going through it. Like, I was so bought into
And I
this.
love when that happens, when the flip side happens. Train Dreams was definitely I was crying in my living room at 12:30 in the morning and wanted to go wake my son up and hold him.
I was about to do that. I was about to do the same exact thing with Amanda. I was like, it's 12:30 at night. I'm going to wake Amanda up and give her a big hug. Never leaving home again.
I know. I'm never going back logging again. I'm not going to do it. No, I think it's true. And I think that, and I think when you can get pleasantly surprised by something, that's always fun. But then if, but you also can just not be in the headspace for a movie. And from what I can hear, Geoff, you don't care so much about children dying, but an old man's plight and retirement.
Yeah.
Unless it's Train Dreams, and that's a different story.
Hey, which you know what, has some elements of this movie to an extent. You know, by the end of the movie, it's like, what did I live for? Like, do I really want to be doing? Anyway,
maybe next season we'll dedicate a month to take twos on movies.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Geoff, why don't you give us our movie recommendations for this week?
Sure. So I've got 4. Normally I have 3, but this time I got 4. So the first one, I know we've talked about ad nauseum a little bit at the beginning, but There Will Be Blood feels like the most logical sort of pairing with it. And that's also going to dovetail into the movie that I'm suggesting from the 2026 Best Picture nominees, which is One Battle After Another. The sweeping landscapes of the American West, the idea of the chase and the pursuit of one party versus another, and those lines getting blurred throughout the movie, I think works very, very effectively with One Battle After Another, and I think also ties in nicely with this movie. Number 3 is a neo-Western, very similar to this. Now, I know that this movie takes place in 1980, so it's not necessarily a modern movie by any stretch, but it's like the post-1900 Western. And that idea in a genre is a good one. And I find myself gravitating towards a lot of those kind of movies. And that movie I'm going to recommend is called Hell or High Water. Came out in 2016, I believe. Stars Chris Pine, Ben Foster, Jeff Bridges. Kind of a similar idea. Chris Pine and Ben Foster play bank robbers. And Jeff Bridges plays the sheriff who's one case away from retirement, chasing after these guys. And it's such a good movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I even like that movie more than this one, which is insane. And so Hell or High Water is a definite recommendation. And then the last one is, who doesn't love Tommy Lee Jones as a sheriff? So Man of the House, where he has to protect a college sorority as a Texas sheriff. So throw that one in there as well.
What year did that movie come out?
That's a great question. I should know that off the top of my head.
Before or after?
I would love that. Would be hilarious if this came out
before.
It did come out before 2005.
Similar. Okay.
That's why he got cast in this. Obviously, they were like, Tommy Lee Jones, you are such a good sheriff.
If he could do it if he could do it in Man of the House, he could do it in anything.
Well, it's funny because he won his Academy Award for playing an FBI agent and like a law enforcement agent. So it's kind of typecast, but also kind of not. So yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Ben. Let's hear your TV Rex.
So similar, I actually have 3 this week. Some weeks I feel like I only have 1 or 2, but I have 3 that all kind of tie in for different reasons. One, sticking with, like Geoff said, a neo-Western would be Justified, which I have not watched all of. I've watched some, and I would watch the more recent City Primeval that came out a few years ago. But definitely like kind of the cat and mouse thriller across kind of, the wide open spaces. There's that element there. And I definitely, it's one I want to watch all the way through sometime because I know people are big fans of it. And then with the Coen brothers, there's Fargo, the TV show, which of course inspired by their movie Fargo. Mm-hmm. Although like it's interesting because there is a season that's set in the early 80s, season 2. And then there is, but I actually feel like the one that thematically feels the closest to this might be the most recent season. Which feels kind of more in the sparse open space kind of, and then a really horrible villain, in this case John Hamm, in the Fargo season. And then speaking of horrible villains, not as good a show as the other 2 I just said, but if you want to see Javier Bardem be a monster again, you could check out Monsters, the Lyle and Eric Menendez story, where Javier Bardem plays their father, and he is a absolute terror as the father. Does a really nice job in that show. And it's a trashy, not very good show, but he does a very nice job in it. So there we go.
Great. Thank you. All right. Time to move on to our top 4 for today.
Yeah.
So
this is hard.
Yeah.
There's a lot of some weeks I'm struggling to get 4, and I was like, I got a lot I want to talk about here.
Yeah, that's fair. So we're doing our top 4 movie or TV villains, and we tried to narrow it down a little bit by saying we could not use animated villains. Obviously, even with that in place, we still struggled. I think I had 7 or 8, and I think Geoff had 12. So
yeah. I've got my top 4. I've got 3 honorable mentions. Then I've got 3 I want to just mention in a different way. So that's a total of 10.
All right. Well, take it away, Ben. You can start.
All right. My 3 I'm going to mention that I'm not putting on the list because I feel like I struggle to necessarily call them villains because they're also kind of like the main character of their movie or TV show. And that is Hannibal Lecter, Walter White from Breaking Bad, and Norman Bates from Psycho. Obviously, they're all disturbed individuals. Villain, though, to me, I don't know. They don't quite, to me, fit the bill of villain.
Hannibal Lecter isn't on my list for that exact reason.
Yeah, you see them on these lists, when you look it up, but I don't know. In some ways, Buffalo Bill's the villain of that movie.
He absolutely is. Yep.
So I just wanted to mention them because I think they're 3 incredible characters, 3 of the best characters ever in TV and movies, but I don't feel like they're appropriate for this list. So my honorable mentions are Anton Chigurh, who we talked about because dang, that guy's scary. Jack Torrance from The Shining, real jerk, real crazy, and then Nina Myers from 24, who was a real horrible turncoat in that show, which had a lot of villains. But I still remember, and this is spoiling a 20-year-old show, so I'm not really worried about it now. But when it's revealed that she is a bad guy, is a really great TV reveal. All right, so my top 4, number 4. The Wicked Witch of the West, Miss Elphaba from The Wizard of Oz. Before we knew all her depth and all her, everything Wicked taught us, as a child, that's a pretty scary villain. And and I think it holds up to this day of her as a real bad character. Even though obviously we've tried to redeem that in other properties, but standalone in The Wizard of Oz, she's still super scary and still super evil. Number 3, Hans Gruber from one of my favorite Christmas movies, Die Hard. And just an excellent portrayal. I don't have too much more to say about that, but looking forward to when Amanda watches Die Hard with us someday. Number 2, Annie Wilkes from Misery. I've talked, I think, before about Misery on this podcast and my sheer terror of watching that movie the first time. And I think Kathy Bates is really terrifying in that movie. Very scary. Number 1 is the Joker. Particularly Heath Ledger, but shout out to Jack Nicholson and shout out to Cesar Romero, who's much more. And
shout out to Jared Leto.
Yeah, I haven't seen that, so I can't speak to that. But
said it in sarcasm. Don't worry, everybody.
I think Heath Ledger's Joker, though, is without a doubt the quintessential villain of film. Taking a cartoon superhero-y type character and making him that terrifying and that psychologically tormented. It's terrifying both in terms of your traditional villain ways because he's an actual bad guy in a Batman movie, but it's also terrifying on a psychological level. And I think that is, to me, the most quintessential villain of all time.
Great. Let's hear your list, Geoff.
So a lot of honorable mentions here. Ben, you mentioned a bunch of them. The Joker, specifically Heath Ledger's, Anton Chigurh, Michael Myers from the Halloween movies, Lord Voldemort from the Harry Potter movies, Hans Gruber as well. All extraordinarily terrifying and horrifying villains that are absolutely deserving of a spot on this list. And were very hard cuts. Number 4 is a character from a movie I know none of you have seen, which is fine, is Reverend Harry Powell, played by Robert Mitchum in the movie The Night of the Hunter. This is a 50s movie about a preacher who is hunting after 2 children because these kids know the whereabouts of where some money is hiding. And he is on the hunt for this money, marries their parents, kills parent. Like, he is the epitome of evil in this movie. He's slimy. He is disgusting in how he pursues and tries to manipulate community around these kids. These kids feel helpless the entire time. Such a great character, such an evil character, and truly one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. The Night of the Hunter from 1955. Incredible villain, deserving of this list. Number 3 is a character that isn't the 100% villain of this movie, but is so good and so evil when he is featured that I'm like, I have to put him on this list. And that is Hans Landa, played by Christoph Waltz in the movie Inglourious Bastards. Mm-hmm. He's a Nazi, so he's bad. Duh. But he is so unbelievably calculated.
And we have to just make sure that's clear in 2026.
we have to make sure, everybody. So he is so calculated and cold with how he hunts and pursues Jewish people across Europe. And he plays games with characters. He toys with them. He knows certain things that aren't necessarily communicated on said out loud, but you can see in his eyes, he knows what's going on. He's so smart. He tries to trick his way to winning out in the end of the movie. Such an effective character, so well done. And I don't think anybody else besides Christoph Waltz could pursue this or could take on this character quite like he does. Number 2 is John Doe from the movie Seven. Talked about Seven a bunch in a lot of these lists because guess what? Seven's a very, very good movie.
Gotta do it sometime.
Gotta do it. I gotta have something that is entirely me. And I can't talk about this a lot because the reveal of who John Doe is so powerful and so good and so creative, especially from when it was released back in the day to even today. Can't talk about it at all, but he is amazing. And the evil things that John Doe does throughout this movie, even when you don't see him, is scary, scary stuff and leaves Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman just in a bind the entire movie. It's so good. And then number 1 plays into the franchise of it all. It was going to be either Lord Voldemort or this character ultimately, because I was like, I want to have franchise character, one that sticks out across a number of different movies and films and has lasted throughout time. And this one stood out, combination of character design, their arc, and their impact on culture at large, especially on me when I was growing up. Darth Vader. The best character design of maybe any franchise character ever done. So intimidating, so horrifying. The music is paired so perfectly with him. And even when Darth Vader has brought back in other modern interpretations of Star Wars, such as in Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, he is the highlight. The best movie series villain maybe ever created. So Darth Vader, number 1.
Can I tell you a quick thing before Amanda shares her list?
Of course you can.
My son, for the podcast listeners, he's 2 years old. He had a Star Wars cup that my wife had or something. I don't know. She just has a lot of these old trinket things, and it was a cup that she had gotten down. I don't know why he had it, but he had it in his hand. And he was like looking at it and sitting with me, and he's like, "Who's that?" And I was like, "That's Darth Vader." And then he pointed to some other, it was a Star Wars cup, which I think I mentioned, and had a bunch of characters. And so he pointed to Darth Vader, and he's like, "Who's that?" And I was like, "That's Darth Vader." Then he pointed to Yoda, and he was like, "Who's that?" And I'm like, "That's Yoda." And then I was out. I tapped out because then the next thing he's like, "Who's that?" I was like, "I don't know."
You're like, go ask your mother. I don't know.
That's amazing.
I'm proud of you for knowing too.
Yeah.
Ben. Thank you.
2 big ones. Nice job.
All right. Well, I will not spend much time on my list because, most of the ones in my top 4 have already been said. So,
That's why you
not
got to
much
go
more.
first one of these days, Amanda.
You know what? It's fine.
We always steal your thunder.
Not all the time. So, my honorable mentions are Killmonger from Black Panther, who I feel like was a very complex villain. Not necessarily like just straight up evil, but complex. Pennywise, because just he tries to kill children, so there's that. And then the Duke from Moulin Rouge, because F that guy. Like, he is the worst. So he gets an honorable mention. My number 4 is Captain Barbossa from Pirates of the Caribbean. He, again, I feel like is more complicated and in the like morally gray area rather than just being like a straight up evil villain. I've always found him and his plot lines in those movies very interesting. So I very much like him. Number 3, as Geoff mentioned in his list, is Voldemort. Again, just grew up on that series and was absolutely terrified of him when I read the books. And, maybe not terrified of him when I was older and watching the movies, but I do think he's a very good villain. Number 2, similar to Ben, is Annie Wilkes from Misery, because I watched that movie way too young and she scarred me forever. But I mean, she is very, very evil.
Amanda came and watched Matlock commercials. Like, that's
Yeah.
Annie Wilkes.
I have to like hide. When she was in the office, it was just terrible for me. Whole season I couldn't watch. And then my number 1, even though I've never seen this movie in its entirety, is Heath Ledger as the Joker. I've seen enough of it and I've seen enough of him being the Joker to know that he just absolutely killed it in that in his interpretation of the character. And yeah, he deserves to be number 1.
Amanda, I thought maybe you were going to put Jenna on there.
Jenna, she is a villain, girl. She's like a different category of villain.
Yeah,
We need to like
that's fair.
categorize them.
Like
We
the
can have, like-
accidental villain.
We can have like pure evil villains like Anton. We can have like mentally unstable villains. We can have the accidental villain. I like that idea.
That could be a mini episode.
There you go.
We could do a draft with those different categories.
I like it. Someone write that down. Looking at you, Geoff. When I say someone, I mean Geoff.
Take that down.
Well, he's the one who always writes everything down, so he's got the lists. All right. Well, I hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you'd like to watch along with us, next week we will be rounding out our Best Picture month by watching Coda, which was the Best Picture winner in, Geoff, remind me, 2023? 2022.
Came out in 2021, won in 2022.
Okay, I was close. So be sure to watch along with us. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving us a rating or review and follow us on all our social channels. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see y'all next week.
To infinity and beyond!
Why so serious?
I am serious. And don't call me Shook.
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
I said it before and I'll say it again. Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.